Robin, and I'd like to welcome you to Card Maker Kit of the Month Club. Today, I'd like to walk you through the projects and techniques of our Pretty Posies kit. You'll learn how to make charming paper flowers. Just look at everything you get in this kit. Cards and envelopes, printed papers, a rub-on sheet, a die-cut sheet, glitter, brads, satin flowers, ribbon, and rubber stamps. You'll learn how to make charming paper flowers. The kit's featured technique is making flower embellishments. Making your own flowers is fun and very addicting. Let's start with the paper roses on this cute card. To make these flowers, all you need is paper or cardstock, adhesive dots, and the interchangeable embossing tool from the Card Maker Toolkit you received when you joined the club. You can use regular or decorative scissors or a die-cut machine if you'd like. These flowers start with a circle that is either torn, cut, or die-cut. I love tearing the circle for an uneven edge. The larger your circle, the larger your finished flower will be. And as you can see, it doesn't have to be an exact circle. If you'd like, you could draw a circle on the back and then tear or cut around that. On the back of your circle, draw a spiral that's 1/4 to 1/2 inch wide. And as you can see, it doesn't have to be exact either. Tear or cut along your trace line. Another fun thing about this is that doesn't have to be exact either, so if I don't tear right on my line, it doesn't really matter. As you get used to this technique, you may decide not to even draw a line, but just to cut or tear a spiral freehand. And that's perfectly fine. If you drew a spiral, you may want to erase it at this point, because it may show on your finished flower once it's rolled up. Beginning at the end of the spiral, use your embossing tool to get started, at least to roll the spiral, and then I like to take it out after I get it started, but you can keep it in if you'd like. Or you don't even have to use it to start. You can just start rolling with your fingers. Whatever works best for you, as long as the end result is that you get this all rolled up. As you can see, I've got the pattern towards the inside of the spiral. That way when we have our flower finished and we look at it from above, we'll see the pretty pattern paper. When you get it rolled all the way to the center, let go and it will release slightly. If you like that, you can leave it the way it is. If you'd like it to be released a little bit more and not be quite so tightly wound, just stick your embossing tool in there and just kind of go around the spiral, pushing just a little bit, and that will relax it. You can also kind of unwind it a little bit with your fingers until it looks the way that you would like. I think that one's pretty good. Now you're ready to attach an adhesive dot to the center of the spiral. The easiest way to do that is to leave it on its backing paper and press it to the center of the spiral. Push a little bit so it adheres, and then pull away its backing paper. When you have the adhesive dot there, then you can take the rest of the flower, push all the bottoms of all those spirals down into the glue dot to hold it in place. And that's it. What a cute flower! Now I'd like to show you how to make the accordion fold flower on this cute card. Start with a strip of cardstock 1 1/4 inches wide and about 10 3/4 inches long. You'll adhere 2 5 1/2 inch wide strips together. Remember, when you're making these kind of flowers, the wider the cardstock, the larger the flower will be. And if you want to make it wider, you will make the strip wider, and you'll also need to make it longer. You'll also need a scrap of cardstock, a bone folder from your card making toolkit, a ruler, an adhesive dot or liquid adhesive, and then something to weigh your flour down as it dries if you used liquid adhesive. And I've got a heavy plate here that I'm going to use. You're going to score every 1/4 inch along this entire strip, and you'll need your ruler to make sure you score really nice and straight. So I would make a little mark every 1/4 inch on the back side of the strip, and then you can begin scoring. Once you're ready, lay the ruler along the line and then just run your bone folder along it to create a score. This will allow you to have nice, sharp creases. Fold back and forth along your scored lines like a fan. Do this all the way to the end of the strip. And since you've scored these lines, that should be a pretty quick and easy process. Once you have it folded all the way to the end, you're going to adhere the two ends together. I'm using a liquid adhesive just because I know that's nice and strong and it's not going to give way when I do the next step. You can use any kind of strong adhesive that you have. Of course, the liquid adhesive is going to take a little while to dry, and some other adhesives you may have will not take that long. Once the ends are adhered, and that is dry if you used a liquid adhesive, apply an adhesive dot or glue to the center of your scrap of cardstock. Lay your circle down on top and then press in the center to flatten it. Now, since I used liquid adhesive, I'm going to need to weigh it down until it's dry. Otherwise, if I let go, it's just going to pop up. So I've got this plate that I'm just going to set on top of mine until it dries. The last flower we'll be making is used to embellish this card. I call it a layered circle flower. It's a great flower for relieving stress. You'll see what I mean. To make this simple flower, you need to cut, die cut, tear, or punch 3 or more paper circles for each flower. You'll also need a brad or some other embellishment for the flower center. For this sample, I have torn 3 circles, one large, one small, and one in between. It also looks nice if you use 3 circles that are the same size. Simply layer the circles on top of each other and adhere in the center. I'm using a brad to adhere them together, so I'll use the piercing tool from my Card Maker toolkit to pierce a hole through the circles, then insert the brad. Now for the fun part. Scrunch up each layer tightly. It's really going to look like a mess, especially at this stage. And the more you scrunch it, the better it's going to look in the end. And this is where you get out your frustrations, by scrunching that. Now gently pull apart the layers, and you'll leave each, especially the inside center layer, more scrunched than the others. Isn't that a cute flower? One last thing I'd like to show you is how to layer and adhere the flowers on this Friends Forever card. The instructions for this card are on page 8 of your leaflet. Select the flowers and die cuts that you'd like to use on this card, and you can see I've already gone ahead and put in brads for the centers where I wanted. If you'd like to layer some of them, go ahead and have that part done ahead of time. I would like to layer 2 die cuts here, so I'm going to go ahead and apply some adhesive and layer that and let that dry. One important thing to know is you're going to want the first layer to be die cuts, because they'll be providing the stability to hold the rest of the flowers in place. You'll decide on the positioning of your first flowers, and they will need to overlap the base of the flower pot card. That's what's going to hold these on, since these do not have an insert. Then apply adhesive to the back of the die cut where it overlaps the flower pot. And adhere in place. Then you can position your next layer of flowers and see where you would like to place those. And you'll have some of them overlapping each other, and they need to overlap another flower at some point because you're going to be adhering them together. So then where they overlap, I'm going to start with this die cut because it's the most stable, and I saw that it overlapped. I'm going to make it overlap this right there, so I'm going to adhere it at that point. I'm going to adhere the die cut portion of this flower because that's going to be the most stable again to the backs of the petals on this flower. This flower, I don't have a die cut there, so I'm going to put just a little bit of adhesive on the petals, and I'm also going to put a little bit on the brad. An adhesive dot would also be a good option for this flower because you want to be careful, especially with liquid adhesive, so that it doesn't bleed through the satin petal and show through on the front. Now I can slip in some leaves and adhere them in the same way that I did the flowers. Just apply adhesive where they're going to touch another flower, and that's going to hold them all into place. Once these are all dry, if you'd like, you can gently fold up some of the petals, of course not the ones that are adhered in place. And that will give your card a little bit more dimension. If you flip this over, you'll see that the back of the card will show when you open the card, and that really looks kind of messy. You can leave it like that if you'd like, or you can apply some pattern paper to the back just to cover that up. So I'm going to lay the pattern paper down and flip it back over and kind of trace lightly around the edges of my flowers. I just need a general idea because I probably won't make it cover the entire flowers. The edges of the flowers look okay on the back. It's just kind of where they're overlapping. Then I'll cut this out and adhere it to the back. Now I've got my piece cut, and I can place it over here and see it's going to cover most of that. But I don't really like that shape, so now I'm going to trim mine into more of an oval shape that I think will look more pleasing and should still cover the ugly backs of those flowers. And I think I'll probably leave that there like that. And I can adhere this in place, so now when this card is opened, it's going to look a lot nicer and neater. Thanks for making cards with me today. Have fun creating all the cards with all of your pretty posies. They're sure to bring cheer to anyone who receives them.